Welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. Today is Monday, June 20th, 2022, 10 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Well, we're going to continue to look at the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide section on magic items. We're into the scrolls, and we'll be talking about the protection scrolls today. This will be our last show, second to last show. Next week we'll do a first half of 2022 wrap up. We'll talk about some miscellaneous things like the campaign I'm working on. You can even tell what these are. They're maps. They're Dice and Logos maps. I made some adjustments to them to fit what I'm working on, and it's going to be some fun for sure. I like to carry around for some period of time maps of places I'm working on, as it gives me a chance from time to time to take a glance at them and feel inspired by them and to get the creative juices flowing. So we'll talk about the new campaign, which actually starts up tomorrow night. We'll do a little character generation session along with a bit of background, and I think I'm going to try a little different approach to wealth and equipment than I would normally do in first edition. You know, just roll and stuff's in the book. Pick out what you want. If there's anything you don't see that you want, we'll figure it out. But I think this time I'm going to do something a bit more organic. So I'll fill you in on how that went after the fact when we have some more time next Monday. That again, next Monday will be the last show before the summer hiatus. We'll be off for the month of July and back on, I want to say August 1st. We'll pick up with rings in the magic item stuff then, and that'll be where we are. So looking forward to that too, because this is a mighty big section and we've got a lot to do. Anyway, let's jump in. Protection scrolls. Protection from demons. This scroll requires one full round to read if it is to protect against all sorts of demons, including demon princes. 7 segments to protect against demons of type 6 or lower, and only 3 segments to protect against type 3 or lower. The circle of protection generated springs outwards from the scroll reader to a 10-foot radius. No demon protected against can penetrate the circle physically or magically or in any way. But the person within, person or persons, can launch attacks, if otherwise possible, upon demons. The protection moves with the reader of the scroll. Its effect lasts for 5 to 20 rounds, 5d4 rounds, a round being a minute. Note that the protection radius is not an actual physical globe, and if the user forces a demon into a place from which further retreat is impossible, corners them, and then continues forward until the demon would be within the radius of the circle, the demon is not harmed. And the protection way up here is considered voluntarily broken and disappears. There is no way in which this can be used as an offensive weapon. So that's pretty interesting. Much like with clerics turning undead, which is essentially holding them at bay or away from you or driving them away from you. If you were to pursue them and attack them, and corner them, then that effect is broken also. So similar to that, I guess, in some ways, right? Protection from devils. This scroll is nearly identical to protection from demon scrolls. It requires 1 round to read if it is to protect against all kinds of devils and demons, including archdevils. 7 segments to protect against greater devils or lower. 3 segments to protect against lesser devils or lower. So very similar there. That's pretty cut and dry. Protection from elementals. Reading time 6 segments. There are 5 varieties of the scroll. As you can see, the percentage die roll is used. 15% for protection from air elementals, including aerial servants, jinn, invisible stalkers, and windwalkers. Another 15, that's 16 to 30, protection from earth elementals, including Zorn. 31 to 45, another 15, protection from fire elementals. It includes Ifrit and salamanders. 46 to 60, again 15% protection from water elementals, including tritons and water weirds. And the final 40% is protection from all elementals. This magic protects the reader and all within 10 feet of him or her from the kind of elemental noted, as well as elemental creatures of the same or all planes. The circle of protection affects a maximum of 24 hit dice of elemental creatures if the scroll is of a specific elemental type, 16 hit dice if it is against all sorts. So it's less effective if it's a wider net, so to speak. The spell lasts for 5 to 40, that's 5d8 rounds. Attack out of the circle is possible, and as is, attack into it by any elemental creature with more hit dice than are protected against, or by several elemental creatures, those in excess of the protected number of hit dice, being able to enter an attack. So you have to make some determinations if there are multiple elementals and the total of their hit dice exceeds that of the spell. And there's some judgment calls to make there. So let's say, for instance, that is a protection against water elementals specifically in 24 hit dice, and you've got 5 6 hit die, then one of them would be able to get through. The other 4 6 hit die that adds up to 24 not able to get through. So a little bit of math you got to do probably on the fly in a moment, but I'm sure most DMs are up to the task. If not, have your players help you. Protection from lycanthropies. Reading time 4 segments. There are 7 types of this scroll. We got, again, a percentage die roll. 5 to 10, 1 to 5, werebears. 6 to 10, another 5%, wereboars. 11 to 20, that's a 10% chance of wererats. 21 to 25, weretigers. 26 to 40, so now we're talking 15 from werewolves, probably one of the more regular varieties, one of the more frequent varieties. 41 to 98 from all lycanthropy, and 99 to 100 from all shape changers. So doppelgangers and other non-lycanthropy shape changers would then be affected from that. I'm not sure why I threw that in. I mean, I understand the similarities of the shape changing aspect, but maybe not quite in the spirit of the flavor of the scrolls. But why create an extra scroll just for that? Blah, blah, blah. The magic circle from the reading of the scroll extends in a 10-foot radius. It moves with the person who read the scroll. Each scroll protects against 49 hit dice of lycanthropy, rounding all hit point pluses downward, so a 3 plus 1 hit die is just 3 hit die. Pluses downward unless they exceed +2. There you go. Then I guess you would round up in those cases. It's not explicit in that way. The protection is otherwise similar to that against elementals. Protection from shape changers scroll protects against monsters, except gods and godlike creatures. So if Odin comes down and he's wandering around as an old man, this will not save you from him. All monsters able to change their form to that of a man, specifically. So doppelgangers, certain dragons, druids, jackal-were, and those under the influence of polymorph spells, as well as all actual lycanthropies. The magic lasts for 5 to 30 rounds, so up to a half hour. Protection from magic. Reading time, 8 segments. This scroll invokes a very powerful and invisible globe of anti-magic in a 5-foot radius. Up to now, all these have been 10-foot radius. From the reader, it prevents any form of magic from passing into or out of its confines, but normal things are not restricted by it, such as a hail of arrows. As with other protections, the globe of anti-magic moves with the invoker. Any magical item which touches the globe must be saved for with a 50% likelihood of the object being drained of all magic from the power of the globe, i.e. save equals 11 or better with a d20, so it's 50-50. So that's pretty powerful for a scroll, right? The ability to because it says, it's not like it has a will. So unlike the other protection scrolls, which you can't force it into that which you're being protected against, I don't see that stipulation here. The fact that you could walk up to somebody and all of their magic items have a 50% chance of just becoming non-magical seems pretty excessive. There are some rules elsewhere that suggest. Well, let's finish this so we get the details. The protection lasts up to half an hour. If multiple magic items encounter the globe simultaneously, the leading item, a magic sword held in advance of its holder, for instance, is the first affected. Then the others are checked in order of decreasing power. There's going to have to be a judgment call made there until the first item fails a save, at which time the globe is canceled and the item is drained of its magic. Yeah, here we go. So it can only affect one ultimately, but that's still pretty powerful. Whether it's a magical sword, a holy sword in the hands of a paladin, for instance, might be the greatest weapon the party's ever had. But I might be prone to saying that the magic item isn't forever non-magical, but rather is suppressed, as I was about to say before. I've seen some rules elsewhere where the like a magic field will suppress or dampen magic on items for a period of time. I think that seems less egregious than what they're suggesting here, so maybe that's a way to go. I would consider that rather than just have it be null and void. Protection from petrification. Reading time 5 segments, a 10-foot radius. Again, circle of protection extends from and moves with the reader of the scroll. All within its confines are absolutely immune to any attack forms, magical or otherwise, which causes flesh to turn to stone. The protection lasts from 5 to 20 rounds, 5d4, up to 20 minutes. No reason why you shouldn't have a pouch full of these, I suppose, if you're going to fight with a Medusa or a Gorgon or a Basilisk, any creature like that. It's also interesting too. Oh, I got myself a little a little hmm, Scammerooski. All right, dealing with a spam bot in the old chat. Get rid of that real quick. Sorry for the delay. The protection from petrification is kind of swingy, right? I mean, 5 minutes to 20 minutes in 1 minute increments. I would not feel very safe after the 5 minutes, but because you roll those in secret as a DM, you never know when it's going to wear off. I used to think that was very, very swingy, that it would be nice if it were a shorter swing and protection longest. Maybe I've seen some people do things where the first 4 of the 5d4 are max, so it's 20 plus 1d4. So it can go from 20, or rather it's 16 plus 1d4, which would mean that the 17 to 20 minutes is where it might peter out on you. So you might consider that if you want a less chaotic, but some people like chaotic magic, and it's never truly been a problem in any games I've run for things to have that kind of a long range of uh, possibility. So you decide if it's your campaign. Protection from possession. Reading time 1 round. This scroll generates a circle 10-foot radius, which extends and moves with the reader. All creatures within its confines are protected from possession by magical spells, such as Magic Jar. Attack forms aimed at possession or mental control or psychic energy drain, which are psionically based or magically based, or demon, devil, night hag, or similar creature possession, obsession. This protects even dead bodies if they are within the magic circle. The protection lasts from 10 to 60 rounds in 90%. So you probably just roll a d6 and it's in 10 round increments. 90% of these scrolls, 10% have power which lasts from 10 to 60 turns. But the protection is stationary. So if you have a friend that was killed by a ghast, for instance, right? Or rather a wight, or something that would turn you into undead, I wonder if this would. I would rule that it does. I like the idea of keeping your friend's body safe until you can resurrect him, because, gosh, it would be a problem if you carried him off to the temple and he was lying in state until they could get around to getting the high level cleric to come by and cast that resurrection, and in the meantime he turned into a white. What a bummer. Protection from undead. Reading time 4 segments. When this scroll is read, a 5-foot radius, 5 foot again on this one, of protection extends from and moves with the reader. It protects all within its circumference from all physical attacks from undead, ghast, ghosts, ghouls, shadows, skeletons, specters, wights, wraiths, vampires, zombies, but not magical spells and other attack forms. If a creature leaves the protected area, it is subject to physical attacks as well. The protection will restrain up to 35 hit dice / levels of undead. Excess hit dice / levels can pass through the circle. It remains in effect for 10 to 80 rounds, 10d8 rounds. So probably 10d6 on the 10 to 60, right? Note, some protection scrolls of this nature will protect only against certain types of undead, one or more. Like maybe you'd have ghouls and ghasts combined into one scroll, since they appear together, rather than all undead at the DM's option. See Potions, Undead Control for a die roll table. Special note, all protection scrolls are cumulative in effect, but not duration. So, overlapping them could be difficult in that case. But make your own determination on that. I would say as long as you are reading one before the last one expires, the new duration comes into effect and the protections can overlap. Uh, kind of fun if they run out while you're reading one or another and you see the closing in again when they realize the protection's not on, whatever the creatures are that you're protecting yourself against. In any event, that is pretty much that for the protection. The rings, we'll go over both the table and the descriptions, starting with our first show in August. We'll have to take some time at the beginning of that show to do some a little how was your hiatus talk, but we'll get into rings and work our way through those. That's a fairly large section because unlike this, protections and the spell scrolls aren't covered with a tight amount of text. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll probably be looking at that for at least one, if not two, shows beginning in August when we come back from hiatus. Anyway, I will be catching everybody next week for one more show before that summer hiatus, as I said. So please do tune in and let us not forget that. This has been the OK Grognard Show. We've been looking at the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide section on magic items. We've gone through potions and scrolls. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a big section, and there's a lot of text, and there are lots of little corner case things to go over. So we talk about it all. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Oop, that's the next one. Okay. Hang on 1 second while I sort this out. Who's not prepared? There we go. All right. The OK Grognard Show streams live on Twitch each Monday at 10 a.m. Central and is then archived on YouTube. So if you're catching us on Twitch, please do follow the channel. Speak up in the chat while you're here if you have any questions or you want to get in on the conversation at all. If you're catching it on YouTube, by all means, subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell so you get updates when new shows are uploaded. And please do make comments. Constructive criticism and kindly talk are always welcome. And let us also not forget that we have to thank our Patreon supporters. Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Rick Hershey of Fat Goblin Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farndon of the D&D 20, Dave O'Brien of Quacks Games, and Shane Bradley, DM Extraordinaire. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Thank you very much, and bye bye.